Morning guys and welcome back. This is part 2 of our trip around London, and for today we're heading over from Fenchurch Street to the Lloyds Building, which is quite a dramatic looking building in central London. We'll take you through the journey over there and how we get to the final picture, which I'll show on screen now. So for today's video, the journey's a little bit different. We were on foot and we were only making our way over from 20 Fenchurch Street to the Lloyds Building. As you can see on the map here, it isn't very far at all. I just wanted to show you some of the other good stuff that's in the vicinity here. So Leadenhall Street has Leadenhall Market on it, which makes quite a nice shot, and I'll show a picture of that on screen. So over at the top here, you've got number 30 St Mary Axe, which is the Gherkin, which is quite an impressive building in itself. Lloyds of London, the insurance brokers, are housed at the Lloyds Building, which is where we took the photo today. So all in this vicinity is some really impressive stuff. In the background, through the side streets here, you can often see things like the Shard peeking over from over this side of the river. So there's some really good stuff around here. So I'd recommend you hit Fenchurch Street, the Lloyds Building, the Gherkin, Leadenhall Market, all in one go, and you can choose a route to suit you. There's plenty of stuff to do around here. It's the financial district of London, and you'll see all sorts of good stuff around here. Some of the buildings are absolutely fantastic. From there you can head on over to the Tower of London, London Bridge, etc, etc. But this is a great little spot for some photography. So in terms of equipment for the shot today, 15 to 35 2.8 lens was used. Now the 15mm is absolutely imperative if you're going to try and get as close as I did to this building and get it in frame. You do have an element of freedom to cross the road over here near the church and shoot a little bit further away, which can help. But if you haven't got a wide focal length, you're going to really struggle to fit in a lot of these big buildings and this phenomenal architecture. So if you can get something like a 10 to 18 on a crop sensor or a 15 to 35 or similar on a full frame sensor, that would be great for a shot like this. It means you can get up close to the building and just keep that in focus. There are some bits like this sundial which you can use to help frame the shot, and that can make a really nice picture too. You can do some looking up pictures, which can also be very impressive. You've obviously got the Gherkin sticking out there in the background behind the church. You can do some mix of old and new. But really a wide lens is a must for these, I think. So the 50 to 35, it was mounted on a Canon R5 and I was shooting handheld today, so I wasn't able to take the tripod around London with me, but that was more than adequate. The 1535 has image stabilization, so you don't have to worry too much about camera shake. And that's it in terms of equipment for today. So on the 15 to 35, although you can stop right down to 2.8, we were up at 7.1 for this shot. And that gave us a nice sharp image across the full field of view. Our ISO was quite low. It was a bright day. We dropped to 125. So I was kicking around ISO 100 and I just wanted to pull out a bit the shadows. So I dropped up to 125 for this shot. And our shutter speed was 1/250th of a second. That meant it was going to be really quite crispy, even though it was a handheld shot. And that worked well. Our subject to detect was left on people as it happens, but it wasn't really relevant for the building, and the shutter mode was electronic for all our shots. We were single shot shooting, so we weren't on fast burst modes or any delays, just single shooting for this image, and JPEG as usual. So they were our settings. So this one's the monument to the Great Fire of London, which is another lovely place to visit while you're in the area. There are great shots to be had all over London. The Gherkin, obviously worth doing. There are lots of good angles you can do, some nice reflections and sky shots that can be done with the Gherkin. And similarly, if you just look up anywhere in this area, there are some great shots, great reflections of buildings, and it's a lovely spot. Okay, so here's the final shot we chose. As you can see, the Lloyds Building is absolutely brilliant. I chose to get one with the sun just peeping around the corner up here. You've got a little bit of a sun star effect kicking in. There were people around all day, so I could choose to edit them out or not. And due to the fact I was using a really wide focal length, you're going to pull in the other buildings. Now you can choose to leave these in or crop them out depending on the type of picture that you go in for. I think for today's shot what I'll probably do is lose these buildings and then crop around so the Lloyds building itself is the focal point. So I think we'll start with that actually. I'll duplicate the background layer to kick us off, and then I'll start taking out these buildings at the side. Now, due to the fact that I let this blow out quite white here, I'm going to use that to my advantage, and I'm just going to clone stamp in white and get rid of these buildings. So I'll use a fairly big brush, 300 pixels, 100% opacity. I'll hold Alt and click on the adjacent white, and then I'll just drag it down over the building to get rid of that. And I'm just going to lose these completely from the image. Okay, so that's cleaned up the background distraction a little bit, and now I'm going to crop in. So I'm going to draw across the whole image to start with, and then I'm going to pull the crop in. I'd like to keep the foreground, but I would like to stop around the edge of this building. So I only want the Lloyds building really to be in shot. I don't need much more. I don't mind Fenchurch Street popping up in the background there. And then on the right hand side, similarly, I'm just going to pull that in a little bit to the base of these steps. The foreground I'll pull up a small amount. That's fine. And similarly with the top, I'll pull a little bit of sky in because I want the building to be the focus for the viewer. Okay, now when I took this shot, I deliberately overexposed a little bit because there are a lot of dark bits in this building that I wanted to pull out. The consequence of that is the lights are a bit too light, so I'm going to pull those down as well as pulling the shadows up a little bit. So I'm going to go image adjustments, shadows and highlights. And in terms of shadows, I'm only going to boost a small amount on shadows, 7%, and the highlights I will bring down a little bit. So that's down 27% on the highlights. I'd like to boost the blue of the sky, so I'm going to go to Vibrance and Saturation. And the Vibrance will boost quite a bit, so that's plus 64%, and Saturation plus 36%. Okay, so if we turn this layer off, that's what we started with, and that's where we're up to now. So you can see we pulled out some greens in the colour of the building as well, which is quite nice. So we'll have a new layer, and then we need to decide what we do with the people. Do we lose them or do we keep them? So I think when people are facing you, it's more distracting. So I'm just going to use clone stamp, and you hold Alt and click somewhere sensible near the subject, and then start drawing out the bits you don't want. And think about shadows when you do this as well. Obviously, if you lose the person, you need to lose the person's shadow too. Okay, and we've just got a bit of green in here that I'd like to tone down. So I'm just going to go to channels and then select the green channel and then show them all. Now I'm only editing the green channel. And I'm going to use a very light touch, so 3% on a 30 pixel brush on shadows. And I'm just going to pull out a little bit of green. Okay, so that's one gone. Again, you've got a face coming towards you, which we tend to pick out and focus on. So I think I'm going to lose this gentleman as well. Now we have a bollard going to nowhere, so we'll just steal this one and recreate it over here. Okay, so we've successfully deleted another human. Where do we want to go any further? It's a bit tempting to lose them all. I'm going to quickly go over the rest of the people. Okay, so we've clone stamped away all our unexpected visitors, and that looks okay. If you zoom right in, you can find bits where it's imperfect, but you can really spend some time on that if you want to tidy it right up. at first glance, you would look at that image and expect that there were no people ever in it, which is really all you're looking for. So in terms of next steps, we'll duplicate the layer again. I'll quickly show you the before, of course. So those people have gone quite well, I think. So we'll duplicate that layer, and now we're looking at sort of coloration and contrast. I will have a quick look at contrast. So brightness and contrast. The brightness is fine, but the contrast is what I'm interested in. So I'm sort of toying up between really bold and strong image and losing the details that we deliberately kept. So I'll boost the contrast a little, up 30, and brightness +8. Okay, so before, after. So I'm okay with that. That's pretty nice. Let's duplicate that again. And I will quickly run through selective color and see if there's anything I like in there. So image adjustments, selective color. And I am just going to play with the sliders on all the colors and see what effect we get. Okay, so we made quite a few changes there. And as you see, we've taken a lot of the green hue out of the image. And it really is just a case of rattling through each of the sliders, sliding them around and seeing what you like the look of. I made a few tweaks in the neutrals to pull out the greens in this image, and it's just the aesthetic that you like. So we'll make another layer, and I was tempted to go black and white for this image, but I quite like it in its colour state. I think that's a nice bold image as it is. I'm inclined to lose a little bit of sky, as it is a bit of a distraction, so I might just tighten that crop in a little further. And we've lost a little detail in the shadows, so I'm just going to pop the shadows and highlights, something around there. So that's a 9% boost in shadows. Highlights is really affecting the sky more than anything. That's 27% again. Okay, so before and after. That's nicer. Okay, so it's a really strong image. Some of these colours that have pulled out are really quite nice and bold, which is really what I wanted, because the building itself is spectacular. It was made in the mid-80s, and they decided to put all the stuff that normally goes inside a building, like the ducts and the lifts and things, on the outside. It maximises space inside, but it looks staggering. It's a really cool looking place. That is pretty well what I wanted. I might drop the saturation down just a smidge. So back to vibrance and saturation. I might just drop it a little bit. I think it might be a bit too saturated. So I'm just playing with the extremes. Black and white, obviously. Full colour. That's a bit better. So that's down 4. And I might just lose a little bit more foreground. I don't think I like having the grates in the image. I'll take it just down to this this pavement edge to the bottom corner. Okay, I'm just bringing up curves. Control M for curves. I'm going to pull up the bottom of the curve a little bit. So again, before, after. You just see a little bit more detail in the building, but without losing the punchiness of it by doing that. And I think that is our Lloyds building. I think we'll call that done. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. There are a lot of good buildings in that small area, and it's well worth a trip down if you're able to. We'll continue our trip around London in the series later on. So if you have enjoyed this content, please do like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.